Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Interstellar Survival. My technological creations can be enhanced hundreds of times. All people on Earth are forced to participate in a game of technological advancement. Everyone starts with only one survival base, starting with 100 points of energy. Once the choice is wrong, the only outcome of waiting is death. And just as Shen Yi made the decision, the system suddenly came and the robots produced directly received 100 times reinforcement. At this point, Shen Yi seized a huge advantage at the beginning. Other players. But it's just his leek. While other players were still struggling with energy issues, Shen Yi had already created the Dyson sphere to absorb stellar energy. While other players were still struggling to leave the planet, Shen Yi was already conquering the vast sea of stars. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Opening a base. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hiss, where am I? Shen Yi rubbed his painful head and sat up from the cold floor. However, when you see a room filled with a sense of technology around you, he was suddenly awakened and came to his senses. What the hell is this place? Shen Yi's handsome face showed a hint of panic and quickly looked around. He soon realized that he seemed to be in a hall right now. In front of him was an incredibly spacious seat. Behind the seat, there is a huge screen and a control console. Besides, in his left and right back 3 directions, there are 3 tightly closed doors, which I don't know what their purpose is. At this moment, Shen Yi was attracted by a few lines of bold text on the screen. Welcome to the Technology Ascension game. Humans from Earth are very lucky to have the opportunity to climb the pinnacle of technology. Please do your best to evolve in this Technology Ascension game. Tip 1. The base you are currently on will qualify you to participate in this game. Once the base is damaged, you will also be directly eliminated. Warm reminder, elimination will result in death. Tip 2. Currently, there are no defense or attack measures in the base. Please develop and construct it yourself. Tip 3. There are only 100 energy points in the base, please allocate them reasonably. If the energy is depleted, the base will completely lose power, and the shielding system will also fail, exposing you to monsters. Tip 4. The radar function of the base will allow you to better understand your current situation. Tip 5. The daily operation of the base requires 10 points of energy consumption, remember not to forget, this is very important. Tip 6. Basic units only require energy to manufacture, please allocate energy accordingly. Tip 7. Don't worry about encountering other players in the early stages. To ensure that you have sufficient resources to step into planetary civilization, all game participants are assigned to different star systems. However, you can consider trading to better develop yourself. As for whether you will meet in interstellar space in the future, whether it is alliance or invasion, please consider it yourself. Tip 8. This game has selected all human beings from Earth to participate, and you are one of them. For the continuation of civilization, let's strive to survive and wish you good luck. Shen Yi. After reading the prompts on the screen, Shen Yi fell into a deep silence. He didn't expect to wake up and encounter such a thing. If it weren't for the incredibly real 5 senses of the body, constantly reminding him invisibly, all of this is not illusory. He might even think he's dreaming. It seems like it's all true. Shen Yi looked at the screen and took a deep breath. It is his consistent mentality to settle for what comes first. Shen Yi sat on the chair and looked at the screen in front of him. At this moment, the prompt on the screen has disappeared. Instead, it is the current situation of the base. Survival base, current level. Level 1, current facilities. Primary radar, primary machinery factory, primary life factory, current energy. 100 points, current consumption. 10 points/day, upgrade requirements. Iron 0/2000, copper 0/1500, spiritual crystal 0/300, energy 1/100000. Shen Yi glanced at the panel and had two general understanding of the base. It has to be said that this base is really rudimentary now. There are only 3 facilities in total. However, now is clearly not the time to nitpick. Shen Yi sequentially opened these 3 facilities. Primary radar. With detection and shielding functions, it can detect the level of surrounding organisms, with a maximum detection range of 30 kilometers. Upgrade requirements include iron 0/300, copper 0/200, spiritual crystal 0/30, and energy 100/3000, junior machinery factory. Capable of producing junior units, currently possessing units such as Type 1 work robot, Type 1 combat robot, and Type 1 reconnaissance robot. Upgrade requirements include iron 0/500, copper 0/300, spiritual crystal 0/50, and energy 100/2500, junior life factory. Can produce ordinary nutrient solution, although the taste is not good, the advantage lies in being able to supplement nutrients. Upgrading requires iron 0/100, copper 0/80, spiritual crystal 0/10, and energy 100/1000. After seeing these 3 facilities, Shen Yi couldn't help but feel a surprise in his eyes. These devices have inconspicuous names and good functions. Especially with radar, the primary state can scan and display the situation within a range of 30 kilometers around. Moreover, according to the introduction of primary radar, the scanned items are also very detailed. Just like installing many surveillance cameras within a 30-kilometer radius around the base. Even a single blade of grass can be scanned and modeled within this range. The functionality is incredibly powerful. With this radar function, at least he can sense what kind of monsters are around his base now. Turn on the radar. Shen Yi spoke up. As his voice fell, the screen instantly changed. The data interface that originally displayed 3 types of infrastructure has been zoomed to the side, replaced by a huge 3D map. A map displayed through radar. It can be roughly inferred that he is currently located on a huge Gobi Desert. This Gobi Desert has very little vegetation, and apart from the rugged rocks, it is an endless desert. And it's very dangerous. Because at this moment, on the radar display interface, there are countless densely packed red dots distributed around the base. And the nearest red dot is only 500 meters away from the base. Red dots represent life forms that pose a threat to the base. I'm afraid if it weren't for the so-called blocking function in the game introduction on my base, these monsters would have rushed over long ago. Is this the beginning of hell level? Shen Yi took a deep breath. He clicked on the closest and largest red dot to himself. The specific information of the other party was immediately displayed on the side. Name. Horn Dragon, threat level. S level, threat level based on your current strength, comment. Although it is a herbivorous creature, it has an unusually irritable temper and extremely strong aggression. With the temporary power of the base, it is recommended not to provoke it. Killing can obtain energy. 1500, below is a video of a ceratopsian dragon. Chapter 2. The Choice of Life and Death. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The video venue is located in a desert. Under Shen Yi's gaze, he only saw a monster in the video, with cow horns, 2 muscular forearms, and a body size of more than 10 meters, emerge from the sand. The horned dragon had a fierce gaze, and as soon as it appeared, it noticed a giant scorpion with an equally large body and an incredibly thick shell lurking around it. The horned dragon roared in anger and launched an attack in an extremely irritable manner. With a punch, it hammered the giant scorpion, whose size was no weaker than its own, into meat paste. That pair of fists is really scary. Shen Yi dares to assert that even the King Kong in the movie's arms are definitely not so exaggerated. Shen Yi pondered for a moment, silently examining the material and thickness of the exterior walls of the base, and soon came to a very unfavorable conclusion. If this horned dragon were to come and kill, it is likely that with the thin steel exterior wall of the base, it would not be able to withstand a punch or two from this creature. This is indeed a hellish difficulty. Shen Yi's mouth twitched sharply. How does this make him develop? Moreover, what's even more outrageous is that there are a dozen or so losers around his base. He's completely stuck in the horned dragon's nest. So he hasn't left the novice village yet. But it turned out that the little chicks who were supposed to give experience were all big bosses. Shen Yi shook his head and quickly dispelled some desperate thoughts in his mind. I really can't continue to think deeply. Otherwise, his mentality may just crack open. In this desperate situation, if his mentality is also chaotic, then he really has no chance. He opened up the only 3 branches of troops that his base can currently produce. Type 1 Homework Robot, Production Demand. 20 Energy Points, Ability. The highest power can lift 1,000 pounds of heavy objects, with a maximum load capacity of 1 ton and a maximum speed of 40 km per hour, consumption. 2 points of energy needed per day, level rating. F level, planetary civilization technology level is determined by S.F, Type 1 Combat Robot, Production Demand. 25 points of energy, ability. Maximum precision range of 700 meters, equipped with 2 12.7 mm caliber machine guns, maximum speed of 60 km per hour, consumption. Requires 3 points of energy per day, rating. E. Level, Type 1 Reconnaissance Robot, Production Demand. 15 energy points, ability. Possess optical stealth ability, capable of flying up to 50 km and up to 100 meters, with a maximum speed of 80 km per hour, consumption. 1 point of energy needed per day, rating. F level, the 3 types of producible robot information are not complicated, and next to this information are their pictures. A type of homework robot is a tracked robot that is over 2 meters high. Its lower body resembles a tank, and its upper body resembles a human. There is a huge bucket behind it, seemingly used to hold things. Its 2 arms have 2 3-finger mechanical claws at the front end, which should be very flexible. Overall, if it weren't for being in such a dangerous place, Shen Yi is actually very satisfied with it. But the problem is that his base is now located in a horned dragon's nest. This type of homework robot belongs to miners and has almost no combat ability. I'm afraid I'll be torn apart by those terrifying ceratopsians as soon as I leave. Before manufacturing them, at least some combat robots need to be created as guards. The appearance of Type 1 combat robots is similar to that of Type 1 operational robots. However, without the bucket behind it, it was replaced by a huge ammunition box. And their arms were also replaced by 2 rotating 6-barrel heavy machine guns. It is imaginable what a terrifying scene it would be if we fired at full force. If it weren't for a ceratopsian facing an S.level threat, it would have been very powerful. Thinking of this, Shen Yi couldn't help but cover his heart, his face full of flesh pain. Thinking of the huge body of the ceratopsian dragon in the video, with its extremely defensive appearance at first glance. Shen Yi couldn't even determine whether the heavy machine gun of this Type 1 combat robot could tear open the scales and armor of the ceratopsian dragon's body. Thinking of this, Shen Yi sighed again and couldn't help but feel how miserable he was. He had to face a powerful monster like the horned dragon at the beginning. It's okay to replace it with the giant scorpion that was instantly killed by a horned dragon before. Although that guy also belongs to the category of giant beasts, it's obviously not as difficult to deal with as a horned dragon. After killing a horned dragon, it does make a lot of money. After all, it only has 1,500 energy points per head. But the problem is too dangerous. If the firepower of a type of combat robot cannot easily tear open the opponent's armor defense, it is likely to be approached in an instant, and then crushed into iron slag within 1 or 2 fists. To be honest, although the 12.7mm caliber machine gun is still acceptable, Shen Yi really doesn't have much confidence in it. He doesn't think this machine gun can quickly kill oncoming ceratopsians. After all, the other person's body size is really too big. Moreover, it seems that the scales on the surface of the body also appear exceptionally tough. The tail of the scorpion, which was over 10 meters tall in the previous video, was unable to pierce open the skin of the ceratopsian dragon with a single blow. This shows how terrifying the defense of this ceratopsian is. Of course, the most important thing is actually that the Type 1 combat robot produced by Shen Yi has been rated as only E level by the base, while the Horned Dragon is temporarily rated as S level threat. The difference is a bit big. Although the opponent's strength detected by the radar fluctuates, the level of biological threat around the Shen Yi base will also change depending on the combat power of the base. But currently, the Horned Dragon can be rated as an S-level threat, indicating the opponent's level of difficulty. It's definitely not something that just one or two Type 1 combat robots can solve. As for the final type of reconnaissance robot, it is a miniature, circular ball-shaped robot resembling a bamboo dragonfly perched on top of its head. This reconnaissance robot looks quite cute, and its function is also very outstanding, with good flexibility and speed. Watching this reconnaissance robot, Shen Yi's thoughts also became more lively. Perhaps he could create some reconnaissance robots and use the speed of a type of reconnaissance robot as bait to attract the attention of a group of ceratopsians, guiding them away and not too close to the base. Give him time to develop. However, should we produce these reconnaissance robots, or how many? This requires careful consideration. Chapter 3. Creating a 100-fold enhancement. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Creating a 100-fold enhancement. At present, Shen Yi's energy is not abundant. Apart from the 10 points of energy needed to maintain the daily operation of the base, he only has 90 points of energy available for use. All three types of robots have their own functions and are almost indispensable. Even if it's the same, it still requires 60 points of energy. Shen Yi pinched his chin and pondered how to utilize the initial 90-point energy source, which was very important. Because his available energy is too limited now, once the energy is depleted, he can either take risks and go out on his own to find opportunities to mine, or he can only wait to die at the base. After the energy of the base runs out tomorrow, it is pushed flat by the surrounding monsters. After thinking for a moment, Shen Yi gritted his teeth and decided to directly produce 3 Type 1 combat robots and 1 Type 1 reconnaissance robot. Of course, his decision was not to act recklessly. But it has truly been carefully considered. The production of Type 1 homework robots is completely useless now. Because he is not sure where there is a mine to mine around. And even if he finds it, he will never be able to hold on amidst so many monsters. There are really too many monsters around. Even within 5 kilometers of the base, there are at least nearly 100 monsters with a threat level of A or above present. As long as mining robots step out of the shielding range of the base, there is definitely only one dead end. His only hope now, it is to use a Type 1 reconnaissance robot to lure away monsters with a threat level of B or above. Then, use 3 Type 1 combat robots to simultaneously attack and eliminate the monsters that he may be able to deal with. Hunting monsters can obtain energy, and only when the snowball rolls can we talk about development. From the information provided by the radar, even monsters with threat levels of C or D can provide him with energy ranging from tens to hundreds of points. As long as he can kill a D-level, he can almost break even. And if he can kill a C-level monster, he will directly earn blood. His only doubt now is how strong these monsters are. Give it a try to turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. Starve to death, brave to death. I don't believe my luck is just that bad. Shen Yi clenched his fist and kept cheering himself in his heart. After all, his choice is about his life and death. Once he makes the wrong choice, he doesn't have a chance to start over. Production: 3 Type 1 combat robots and 1 Type 1 reconnaissance robot. After making the decision, Shen Yi's actions were very decisive. Because he was afraid that he would regret it and lose the courage to make a decision completely. Damn it, it's done. Robot production in progress, please wait. 2.59, 2.58, 2.57 As Shen Yi chose to manufacture robots, a 3-minute countdown appeared on the main control screen of the base. The energy bar of the base also fell directly to the valley, leaving only the last 10 points. At the same time, the light on the tightly closed left gate inside the base also flickered red. At the same time, the energy bar on the big screen also fell directly to the valley, leaving only the last 10 points. After the robot is manufactured, it should exit through this gate, and behind this gate should be the primary machinery factory area of the base. Time passes by minute by second. Shen Yi felt that the lighting inside the base seemed to have been affected and became much dimmer. Of course, he knew it was just his illusion. Because the base energy will not have any impact on other functions until it is completely depleted. During these 3 minutes of robot production, Shen Yi felt like he had spent 30 years, and time became incredibly long. He felt like a restless husband outside the delivery room at the moment. The moment I anxiously waited outside the delivery room for my wife to give birth, I felt both nervous about my wife's health and the condition of my child. Of course, what he is currently nervous about is his own robot. Finally, 3 minutes into the last second, the flashing indicator light on the exit gate of the primary machinery factory turned green. The sound of the hydraulic gate sounded, and the gate slowly opened. The scene inside the door slowly unfolded before Shen Yi's eyes at this moment. However, at this moment, a sudden cold reminder sounded in Shen Yi's mind. Ding, it has been detected that the host has successfully produced an item, and the creation 100-fold enhancement system has been activated. Ding, congratulations to the host. Your production of the Type 1 combat robot X3 has achieved a 100-fold increase. Ding, congratulations to the host. Your Type 1 reconnaissance robot X1 has achieved a 100-fold increase. What's the situation? The robots I made have achieved a 100-fold increase in size. Gold finger. A 100-fold amplification system. After hearing the prompt sound echoing in his mind before, Shen Yi was immediately shocked. Did you obtain the golden finger from the novel, or did you experience hallucinations? However, just as Shen Yi hesitated, the previously inexplicable warning sound rang out again. Yes, host, you have obtained a 100-fold amplification system. This system can perform a 100-fold amplification on all technological products produced by the host. Shen Yi's eyes suddenly showed ecstasy. System. I didn't expect him to actually activate the system. And this system can also increase all the technological creations it manufactures by 100 times. Aren't those robots just the technological creations it has just created? A type of combat robot that has been manufactured normally already possesses heavy machine gun firepower. How strong would it be after a 100-fold increase? In this way, I'm afraid the current crisis is no longer a crisis. At this moment, a golden light suddenly burst forth inside the open door. The dazzling light that erupted in that instant. Unconsciously, Shen Yi blocked his eyes. However, he soon realized that the light did not seem to have any effect on his eyes. When he wanted to see it again, the light had already disappeared. And Shen Yi was quickly attracted by the scene behind the gate. Behind the gate, there are 3 Type 1 combat robots that are over 2 meters tall, as well as a spherical reconnaissance robot with a diameter of 1 meter. At this moment, after transitioning from the screen to the physical object, a type of combat robot has become much more ferocious. The shiny barrel and sharp spikes on the head and shoulders make the combat robot look aggressive. I don't know if it's because of the impact of the amplification system, but Shen Yi feels like these combat robots have come to life, full of killing energy. Not yet close, it's a bit creepy and full of pressure. What's going on? Shen Yi was somewhat shocked in his heart. Chapter 4. There is no right or wrong in evolutionary warfare, only life and death. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Even when he first went to the military exhibition and saw those main battle tanks, such a situation did not occur. He quickly pulled out the data of 3 Type 1 combat robots. Type 1 combat robot, ability. Due to special reasons, it has been greatly enhanced, with a range increased to 3,000 meters and a speed increased to 300 kilometers per hour. At the same time, the bullet power and armor level have also been greatly improved. Level evaluation. C.Level, rating comparable to low-yield tactical nuclear bombs, consumption. Daily energy consumption of 30 points, bang. Shen Yi slammed his hands heavily on the control console and stood up, his face full of disbelief. This. He has been here for a long time, and he can't say anything else. After a long time, he finally fell down on the chair feeling a bit lost, and then laughed wildly like a madman. Ha ha ha, great. You came so well. He has never laughed so happily in his life. When making a choice, only he knows how much pressure he has been under. Because this taste is like playing a Russian roulette wheel. Moreover, I bet on 5 bullets. Although I know there is a glimmer of hope, what can I do? That probability is too small after all, the probability of his death is too high. But now it's different. With 3 C.Level Type 1 combat robots that are comparable to small tactical nuclear bombs smashing his face, he's starting this hell less difficult, and his situation is even better than before. His golden fingers are a bit too impressive. Just take an E.Class robot with only 2 machine guns, which can be considered useless on this planet. The increase has reached a level sufficient to benchmark against small-yield tactical nuclear bombs. This Nima is a bit too exaggerated. That's right, if the information on the screen is correct. At this moment, the Type 1 tactical robot is already on par with small tactical nuclear bombs in terms of level evaluation. Looking at the Earth, this can definitely become a top strategic level individual weapon for various top powers. Although he's not quite sure how powerful this thing is yet, Shen Yi used his trembling hand to turn on the radar again. Then I clicked on the information of the ceratopsian dragon. Name. Horn dragon, threat level. D.Level, evaluation. Herbivorous creatures with a slightly irritable personality, but as long as they do not appear near the base, they no longer pose any threat to you. It is recommended to hunt them. Killing can obtain energy. 1500, pretty. Looking at the updated threat level information of the ceratopsian, Shen Yi swung his fist fiercely and burst out laughing again. As I mentioned before, the threat level of organisms around the base is fluctuating and will be re-rated with changes in the base's own armed forces, resulting in changes. What is the reason why the Horned Dragon has changed from its original S.level threat level to its current D.level? It's not because I have created 3 super enhanced combat robots now. And all of this is thanks to a 100-fold amplification system. The system came really in time. In this way, there is no longer anything that can pose a threat to him within a radius of at least 30 kilometers. Suppressing his excitement, he turned his expectant gaze to a type of reconnaissance robot on the side. This type of reconnaissance robot has also undergone 100 times enhancement. I don't know what level I have reached now. Type 1 reconnaissance robot, ability. Due to special reasons, it has been greatly enhanced, and its optical stealth ability is almost flawless. It can fly up to 300 kilometers, with a maximum flying altitude of 6,000 meters and a maximum flying speed of 1 Mach. 1 Mach equals 340 m/s. Rating. D.Level, consumption. Requires 10 points of energy per day. His Shen Yi couldn't help but take a cold breath. This is too exaggerated, it has actually reached supersonic speed. This is equivalent to a direct exchange of guns. This promotion is really exaggerated. You should know that if Mach 1 is converted to speed, it would be 1,224 kilometers per hour. This speed is completely different from before. Moreover, the maximum flight altitude has reached 6,000 meters, coupled with almost impeccable optical stealth capabilities. This means that the likelihood of a Type I reconnaissance robot being discovered will be greatly reduced. Although the enhanced Type 1 reconnaissance robot and Type 1 combat robot both have a tenfold increase in daily energy consumption. But Shen Yi thinks it's completely worth it. Looking at the countless red dots on the map, Shen Yi's eyes were no longer hopeless, but turned into scorching heat. These are all his energy points. He fell in love with the place where he landed for the first time. If we harvest all these creatures, calculate how much energy I can obtain by harvesting all the organisms within 30 kilometers. Shen Yi quickly started operating on the console. Quickly, the data is out. Shen Yi's face, slumped on the back of the chair, was full of smiles. 375,721 points. A staggering number. Even after removing the 100,000 yuan of energy required for upgrading the base. The remaining over 270,000 yuan of energy is still enough for him to create a terrifying steel torrent. Wow! Shen Yi stood up directly from the spacious chair and walked up to 3 Type 1 combat robots. Full of glances at the treasures, scanning these 3 majestic Type 1 combat robots. Then, he reached out and patted the other person's shoulder. Good baby, don't let me down. Go ahead and kill all the marked creatures within the radar range. Convert them into the energy needed for the base. Shen Yi had no mercy in his eyes. Now, I have joined this inexplicable interstellar survival evolution game. If he doesn't want to die, he can only do everything to climb up. There is no right or wrong in evolutionary warfare. Kindness and softness can only lead oneself to become the dust of history. Buzz. 3 reinforced Type 1 combat robots emit a buzzing sound simultaneously. At the same time, the roar of engines, like the roar of a giant beast, came from their chests. For some reason, Shen Yi felt a chilling sensation. It's like 3 wild beasts appeared in front of me. But at this moment, not only did he not feel afraid, but his heart surged and surged. This is the general under his command. At this moment, the one eye on the heads of the 3 Type 1 combat robots also instantly turned red. Shen Yi seemed to see an endless sea of blood surging through it. He seemed to smell a strong smell of blood on his face. Boom boom. A heavy track sound sounded. 3 Type 1 combat robots are heading towards the outside of the base. Shen Yi carried his hands on his back and watched as 3 Type 1 combat robots left, feeling 1,000 emotions in his heart. In this way, he has officially established himself in this world. At least, within this 30-kilometer radius, he is the supreme king who is willing to take life and death. Chapter 5. Adults, times have changed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the battle robot left, Shen Yi immediately returned to his position. Then, the radar was locked onto the 3 Type 1 combat robots sent out. On the huge display screen, 3 Type 1 robots suddenly appeared. At this moment, the 3 Type 1 combat robots sent out have already met the horned dragon head-on. In the distant desert, a horned dragon is carrying rolling yellow sand and charging towards 3 Type 1 combat robots. Shen Yi suddenly became interested and sat up straight. Good baby, don't let me down. He murmured softly and instinctively clenched his fist. Saying you're not nervous is false. Although I know the current level rating of a type of combat robot, it can be compared with small-yield tactical nuclear bombs. After all, I haven't really seen a Type I combat robot take action. So, he has no idea how powerful the Type 1 combat robot is. In the picture, 3 Type 1 combat robots clearly spotted a horned dragon charging towards them from afar. 3 pairs of crimson mechanical eyes immediately locked onto it. 6 cold 6-barrel machine guns directly locked onto the target, and then boom boom boom. A violent barrage of bullets poured out in an instant. The earth seemed to tremble at this moment. Because of the god's perspective of radar. So, Shen Yi could clearly see the sand and dust within a radius of 100 meters around the three Type 1 combat robots, shaking up ripples like waves. Sleeping slot. He couldn't help but burst out in a foul language. The recoil of this Nima is too exaggerated. I don't blame him for being so shocked. Because even those heavy guns with a caliber of 4 or 500 millimeters are probably just as effective. Are these Type 1 combat robots really equipped with 12.7 millimeters caliber machine guns? Under the amplification of 100 times strengthening system. What kind of monster was it changed by the demon? At this moment, the Ceratopsian dragon feels challenged in its territory. Obviously, they have enjoyed the barrage of bullets that are comparable to 4 or 500 mm caliber heavy artillery. Adults, times have changed. Boom. 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 A series of small mushroom clouds with a diameter of 50 or 60 meters continue to rise. Even if it's just looking through the radar at the scene over there. Shen Yi still felt as if he had heard a mournful scream. The power of this type of combat robot is really terrifying. He felt like he had seen a real-life version of the Red Alert Samsung Apocalypse tank. Where there is no grass growing, it's not easy to use anything. I'm afraid the Ceratopsian dragon, who dominates here, wouldn't even dream of having such a miserable day. No wonder the enhanced Type 1 combat robot is in the system's judgment. Capable of benchmarking against low-yield tactical nuclear bombs capable of destroying a city. This is really not an exaggeration at all. At this moment, the three Type 1 combat robots in the screen also put down their smoking gun barrels. Killing towards the next target without looking back. I didn't even care about the horned dragon in the thick smoke. However, according to radar detection, the Ceratopsian had actually lost its vitality. Not long after, the dust and sand scattered, and the places that had been crazily bombed by a type of combat robot before gradually became apparent. The desert in that area has been blasted out with a large hole that is hundreds of meters deep, and even the bottom and walls of the pit have shown crystallization. That is the crystalline substance of sand that has been baked by the scorching heat. It can be seen from this that this battle, which lasted for less than 3 seconds, was truly brutal. Those crystal clear bodies, scattered with sparkling light under the sunlight, look really beautiful at first glance. However, thinking deeply about their causes, Shen Yi shuddered a bit. Only C-level technology has such terrifying power. What kind of exaggeration would the higher level B, A, and S levels be? Not to mention, this is only within the scope of planetary level technology. He is really too weak now. Whenever a higher civilization appears, he probably doesn't even have the power to resist. Fortunately, he has a 100-fold reinforcement system. As long as he is given enough time, no matter what civilization comes, he has confidence to go straight down. After taking a deep breath and calming his emotions, Shen Yi shifted his gaze to the bottom of the pit, where the body of the Ceratopsian dragon was located. However, when he saw the body of the Ceratopsian dragon, he was immediately stunned. I saw it at the bottom of the pit filled with crystals. A broken Ceratopsian is lying among them. Its once astonishingly defensive body has now become fragmented. Even half of the body disappeared from the previous shelling. And those exposed muscle parts seem to have also been roasted. Even through the screen, Shen Yi seemed to be able to smell a smell of roasted meat. Of course, what he cares about is not the body of the Ceratopsian dragon, but rather the light blue blueprint suspended on the corpse. Is this an explosive blueprint? Shen Yi's eyes lit up and his heart was filled with anticipation. I don't know what kind of blueprint this will be. Of course, he couldn't have run out of the base to pick it up on his own. Leaving aside the fact that the distance between the two sides is over 10 kilometers. Just because he knows nothing about the external environment, he would never go out and risk his own life. After all, sometimes the environment is the most deadly enemy. Moreover, due to the slaughter of 3 Type 1 combat robots. The energy in the base has reached a terrifying figure of 3,572. Let him directly get rid of the awkward situation of no energy. Shen Yi waved his hand and the energy on the screen was directly erased by 2,500 points. 1,000 Type 1 combat robots have entered the production queue. However, due to the fact that the machinery factory is currently only a beginner, the maximum number of robots produced at once is 100. So, he needs half an hour to complete the production of all 1,000 Type 1 combat robots. 3 minutes later, the indicator light on the entrance of the mechanical factory turned green. The first batch of Type 1 combat machines has been produced. The sound of the 100-fold reinforcement system echoed in his ears. Ding, congratulations to the host. Your Type 1 combat robot X100 has achieved a 100-fold increase in growth. Wow! 100 Type 1 combat robots that were originally only E.class were directly upgraded to C.class, comparable to small tactical nuclear bombs. The strength under Shen Yi has directly been greatly enhanced. Shen Yi's face suddenly beamed with a brilliant smile. With this mechanical army, can there really be any creatures on this planet that can stop him? But soon, he couldn't laugh anymore. Because more and more Type 1 combat robots are piling up in the hall. Originally, there was a spacious command hall of over 100 square meters. At this moment, it has become incredibly crowded. I'm afraid in a while, the entire base will be able to explode directly. Sleeping trough, get out quickly. Everyone go out to carry out hunting missions. No, leave one for me to bring over the blueprint. P.S. The new book set sail, hoping that those who like it can give some support and vote with fresh flowers. The new book is not easy, thank you all. Chapter 6. D.Level Drawing. Holy Shield Automatic Defense System. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After a flurry of commands, Shen Yi finally sent out this batch of Type 1 combat robots. Avoided the fate of the base being bombed. Shen Yi, who was slumped in the chair, couldn't help but sigh. 10 minutes ago, he was still worried about his life and death, and he would never have thought that 10 minutes later he would actually be troubled by too many robots appearing. However, he glanced at the machinery factory again. Isn't this thing too magical? His command hall is not as large, there is no limit to the space in this mechanical factory. Of course, he did not delve too deeply. This technology skyrocketing game itself is quite outrageous, teleporting it directly from Earth to an unknown planet. Now, it's normal for mechanical factories to go a bit outrageous. At best, it's just technology that he can't understand. Believe it or not, until his height is high enough, these things are no longer secrets to him. The Type 1 combat robot sent to retrieve the blueprint quickly returned with the blueprint. After all, Type 1 combat robots undergo a 100-fold enhancement. The speed has been directly increased to 300 km per hour. As long as you put in your wings, you can take off directly. Taking the blueprint from the hand of a type of combat robot, Shen Yi glanced at it. The information is written on the front of the blueprint. Holy Shield Automatic Defense System, Rating. D.Level, Ability. Exclusive blueprint for the base, which can make your base no longer lack defensive capabilities. After the blueprint is completed, your base will have 16 20mm caliber automatic machine guns and 4 45mm caliber automatic artillery. Although it is not too strong on this planet, it can at least give you some defensive means. Consumption. 50 points of energy needed per day. Production requirements. Iron 0/300, copper 0/180, spiritual crystal 0/50, energy 7514/5000. In just 4 or 5 minutes, 3 Type 1 combat robots have harvested over 7,500 points of energy for him. This efficiency is quite astonishing. Of course, this is also because the base is now surrounded by a group of ceratopsians. Otherwise, the harvesting speed wouldn't be as fast. When all the nearby monsters like ceratopsians are killed, the harvesting speed will definitely slow down. However, this is only true when there are only 3 Type 1 combat robots. With the reinforcement of an increasing army of Type 1 combat robots, his harvesting speed will only get faster and faster. Even after these 100 Type 1 combat robots join the harvesting queue, his energy skyrocketing speed has already begun to skyrocket. Ignoring the constantly rising energy on the blueprint, Shen Yi quickly read through the information on the blueprint. After reading the introduction on the blueprint, Shen Yi's eyes lit up instantly. Good thing. With this Holy Shield automatic defense system, the safety of the base can also be guaranteed. This thing doesn't seem to have much effect now. For Shen Yi, who uses a 100-fold reinforcement system, it definitely greatly alleviated his current urgent situation. After having a powerful steel legion that has reached the C. level, the only thing he lacks now is the protection of the base. After all, his background is really poor. The strength was forcefully boosted by a 100-fold strengthening system. But this is just a false prosperity, just like a foam that will burst with a poke. His Type 1 combat robot is indeed very strong, with a level rating of C. But who knows what future enemies will be like? What if they happen to release an enemy over? At that time, the base could only be slaughtered by people. This is not Shen Yi scaring himself, it is a completely possible thing to happen. Shen Yi cannot gamble with his own life on this possibility. And with this Holy Shield automatic defense system, it's different. After being strengthened by 100 times the system, at least it will not be lower than level C. At that time, even if there were really enemies breaking in, he is not completely devoid of any resistance. This iron, copper, and psychic crystal must be obtained as soon as possible. Shen Yi clenched his fist and said in a deep voice. Not just upgrading survival bases requires this thing. The various technologies of the base and the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield are also needed. And it's a huge need. Wait until the Type 1 combat robot clears its surroundings, and then start producing Type 1 operational robots. After a moment of contemplation, Shen Yi made a decision. He doesn't believe that the vicinity of the base can be so poor. Anyway, with a 100-fold reinforcement system in place, it is highly likely that the Type 1 work robot will be strengthened to level D. The Type 1 reconnaissance robots, both D.class, can now fly at supersonic speeds. Is it difficult for a D.level type of homework robot to still be inferior? With such a foundation, he is not afraid even if he digs 3,000 feet. He opened a huge distance from other players from the beginning. However, didn't the previous prompts mention that players can trade with each other? Why hasn't he discovered this feature yet? Did he overlook it? Shen Yi quickly started operating on the control panel. Sure enough, not long after, he saw the chat and trading functions in the corner of the base display screen. So it's here. Shen Yi murmured in a low voice and then directly clicked on the chat bar. Suddenly, a huge chat bar appeared on the screen in front of me. At the top of the chat bar, it is further divided into all channels, river system channels, arm spinning channels, and private chat. Looking at the chat section, Shen Yi couldn't help but twitch his lips. Good guy, he's direct good guy. This also means that the selected players will also be sent to other river systems, right? And maybe he's one of them. This pen is a bit too big, isn't it? He was not in a hurry to check the player messages in the chat bar, but carefully studied the information in the chat bar. On the one hand, it's because he brushes too quickly and can't even see it. On the other hand, sharpening the knife will not delay the chopping of firewood. Moreover, he doesn't think there is anything that can attract him to these players who are also just starting out. Quickly, Shen Yi understood the operation of this chat bar. This chat bar is not much different from the chat function on Earth. However, there are certain limitations. For example, all channels can only send 3 messages per day, and if you want to send them again, you will need 100 points of energy. The river channel is better, it can send 30 messages every day. However, if you want to post it again after it's finished, you can only pay 50 points of energy for one post. And there are fewer restrictions on arm rotation channels. Not only can 500 messages be sent every day. Moreover, after sending 500 messages, you only need to pay 1 point of energy to send one message. Of course, unless it's the Dragon King. Otherwise, not many people can boast so much. Chapter 7. Chat and Transaction Functions. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In addition, Shen Yi also learned. Before the river channel, there were 100,000 people, while before the arm spin channel, there were 10,000 people. However, now the river channel has only over 90,000 people, and the arm spin channel has only over 7,000 left. It can be imagined how cruel this technological leap game is. In less than half an hour. Within the river system where he is located alone, nearly 10,000 people have been eliminated. A probability of elimination close to 10 to 1, and it was just 10 minutes later. So, looking at all the over 6 billion selected players, how many have been eliminated? Shen Yi only felt a chill surge directly above his head. Crushed the trace of pride that had risen before him fiercely. In this game of technological advancement, human life is really not worth much. There is little carelessness that could lead to the outcome of death. Even if he now has a golden finger, it is not absolute invincibility. At least, he is not absolutely invincible now. Throughout the entire universe, there may be many civilizations that can easily crush it. Even the technology before Earth could achieve, we must take every step well. Shen Yi secretly clenched his fist and firmly remembered this sentence in his heart. Because, whenever he has a slight mistake, it is possible to fall into an irreversible situation. After adjusting his mood, Shen Yi clicked on the arm spin channel. The news flashing here is not particularly fast compared to the other 2 channels. After all, the number of people is only over 7,000. Moreover, everyone has a 15-second CD, so he can easily read it. This can also give him a rough understanding of the player's current situation. Woo-woo, who will save me? All the robots I sent out have been torn apart. I don't have any energy now, who can lend me a little? My energy can only last for 10 days now. Who can come and save me? I will definitely give you 10 million when I go back. I am a god player, who can lend me 90 points of energy. After I pass the early stage, I will definitely receive 100 times back. Mom, I want mom, woo-woo. Bastard, do you know who I am? And this is a virtual online game with holographic technology, right? I don't want to play anymore, let me go. Otherwise, I want you to look good. Upstairs, stop struggling. I can tell you very clearly that this is reality. In the arm-spinning chat bar, it can be said that all beings are in various states. There are those who have failed in gambling, those who have used money to buy people, some scammers, some children, some who cannot recognize reality, and some who have already accepted the status quo. It has to be said that it is indeed very exciting. Make Shen Yi feel like he's watching a movie. Unfortunately, this time he is also a part of the movie plot and one of these hard-working survivors. Of course, his situation is much better than others. At least, it's impossible for others to use the C.level Legion to lead the way like him. Shen Yi was also chatting and saw someone showing off the environment around his base. The biggest threat around us is some leopard-like creatures, which can be easily solved by Type 1 combat robots. Then, a large amount of copper and iron ore was discovered, which could hardly be dug up. Shen Yi looked a bit envious. However, he wouldn't envy the other party. After all, he is a man with a 100-fold reinforcement system. And if it weren't for the current dangerous environment, how could he have received such a rich first bucket of golden energy benefits? It seems that not all players are doing poorly, and there are also many players who have started their game with a wild start. It is worth considering trading some resources. Shen Yi touched his chin and pondered. He had no intention of doing so originally. After all, he thinks everyone should be quite miserable. However, those European dogs who dug into the mining pile at the beginning showed him business opportunities. As for what to trade, it's naturally something like a type of combat robot. He believes that these things will definitely sell very well. After all, even the Type 1 homework robot and Type 1 reconnaissance robot with the lowest level evaluation under his command are technology creations with a level evaluation of up to D. The strongest type of combat robot. It is also a top-notch individual strategic weapon comparable to small-yield tactical nuclear bombs. Those players in dire straits will definitely go crazy to get such powerful weapons. And for Shen Yi, these robots are important. But it's just a bunch of cheap energy products with a cost not exceeding 25 points. You can have as much as you want. Of course, Shen Yi has no intention of selling at a low price just because it's not easy for players now. He not only doesn't sell at a low price, but also buys very expensive. At least for current players, the price is very expensive. As for what means those players will use to raise enough money, that's not his business. He only wants the result. Without wasting any more time looking at the chat bar, Shen Yi simply clicked on the transaction bar. The transaction column is somewhat similar to some game consignment shops. There are already various things hanging inside. Special minerals, strange plants, and some gold and silver jewelry or jewelry. Even more exaggeratedly, Shen Yi even saw Siwa and Naiku on it. Although some consignment sellers do look pretty good. But it still made Shen Yi feel nauseous, and goosebumps started to rise. No one really bought this thing like this, right? And all of these things, without exception, are priced quite high. At least it starts at 15 energy points. These early poor coin players, who could have so much money to buy such useless things. At least, as someone who is about to have over 300,000 yuan of energy, he doesn't feel like he has enough energy to do such things. Not to mention just other ordinary players. However, his ideas have just emerged. I saw that the original flavor silk pudding and internal inventory of the trading bank were missing several items. Shen Yi. Okay, he still underestimated the determination of those G monsters to seek death. Spending 15 or 20 points of energy doing this kind of thing is not waiting for death, what is it? Want to feel comfortable before dying. Shaking his head, Shen Yi had no intention of continuing to think. No matter what others do, what he needs to do now is to do his own thing well. After some exploration, he also gained a general understanding of the operating methods of trading banks. The operation method of the trading house is quite simple, hanging the items you want to sell and then marking the price you want. Meanwhile, energy can also be spent on advertising. It can be said that this is very humanized. As long as you spend 100 energy points, you can post an advertisement on the arms pin channel. Spend 200 energy points to post an advertisement on the river channel. Spending 500 energy can also directly advertise in front of all channels and billions of players. Of course, for current players, this feature is definitely something they can't even think of. Even those European dogs who start the game recklessly. I absolutely dare not think about such things. But for Shen Yi, this is an excellent opportunity to cut leaks. Chapter 8. What a group of good chives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In terms of pricing. After thinking for a while, Shen Yi gave his own pricing. Sales item. Type 1 Combat Robot X1, Seller. Shen Yi, Item Rating. C. Level, Seller's Requirements. 5,000 units of iron, 3,000 units of copper, and 500 units of psychic crystals. In addition, there are special types of blueprints available for private chat. That's right, Shen Yi's price is just so exaggerated. 5,000 units of iron, 3,000 units of copper, and 500 units of psychic crystals, or some drawings that can catch his attention. Although these resources are definitely not worth mentioning for C.level robots. Even if resources are increased tenfold, both sides are unequal. But for Shen Yi, the situation is vastly different. He can directly rely on these resources to give himself a big overhaul, elevating all technology to a higher level. Plus, a wave of enhancement from a 100-fold enhancement system, I believe, as long as I don't encounter those top planetary civilizations. He can walk horizontally on this planet directly. Even the top powers on Earth cannot do anything about him. Of course, the most important thing is that he has estimated the limit that these players can currently bear. If there were more, he was afraid he would have to wait for several days. He doesn't have that much time to waste. After putting things on the trading platform, Shen Yi spent 500 yuan directly to advertise on all channels. And at the moment he chose to hang the advertisement. I saw a chat box shining with golden light above all the channels on the side, appearing at the top of all the channels. That brilliant golden light can definitely instantly attract everyone's attention. Shen Yi's gaze was somewhat strange. Isn't this the same thing as those live streaming platforms? I didn't expect that this technology flying game would also be learned. However, he also had to admit that although this method was crude, it was very effective. At least, as long as you look at all the people on the chat bar, you will definitely be attracted. After slowing down the refresh rate of the chat bar, Shen Yi also looked up at the chat bar. Sleeping slot, do some big shots really spend 500 points on energy advertising? With so much energy, share it with me. Nima. You just focus on energy. Look at what the big shot has done. It's actually a C.level Type 1 combat robot. I'm Nima. Looking at the E.level Type 1 combat robot next to me, I went up and kicked it twice. Brothers, did I do it right? But this price is too expensive, isn't it? 5,000 units of iron, 3,000 units of copper, and 500 units of psychic crystals. Who can afford them? Is the blueprint a bit hopeful? Worry, do you still think it's expensive? This is a C.level. This Nima directly targets the small-yield tactical nuclear bomb, okay. The boss is clearly helping us at a low price. Although I still can't afford it. This person named Shen Yi must have mastered some kind of special technology. Otherwise, why is he a C.level combat robot of the same type? I suggest he hand over this technology to benefit all humanity. Shabby upstairs doesn't have a brain when he goes out. Why do he have to hand over his mastered skills? He's been playing moral kidnapping for so long. I roughly glanced at the player's reaction. There are shocks, quirks, and moral kidnappings. All of these did not surprise Shen Yi. The only thing that surprised him was that some people thought he was a good person, helping players by selling at low prices. Moreover, this is still the mindset of most people. It seems that after the player's situation improves, raising prices at discretion will not cause a market rebound. Shen Yi couldn't help but sigh. What a group of good chives. He wants to give a like to these cute players. Moreover, his C.level Type 1 combat robot, as well as D.level Type 1 operation robot and Type 1 reconnaissance robot, will definitely have a long market. For ordinary players, no, even for those European Emperor players. C.level technology is definitely not easy to obtain. Firstly, you need to have the drawings to manufacture C.level robots, and secondly, you need sufficient resources to build them. If both of these conditions are met. So the most important part is here. Junior machinery factories can only produce E and F level junior robots. Only intermediate machinery factories can create intermediate robots at levels D, C, and B, so, relying solely on these three robots. Shen Yi is enough to collect a large amount of wool in the early stage. And his efforts are only some less than 25 points of energy. Ding. 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 A large amount of private messages surged in an instant. His private message suddenly turned into 999 plus. Moreover, this number is still growing rapidly at a rate of millions per second. Shen Yi's scalp feels a bit numb from this growth. It's truly worth the cost of all channel advertisements that cost 500 energy. Fortunately, the processor on the base is awesome enough. If the computers on Earth were to be impacted by such a massive stream of data, they might be able to open barbecue stalls on the spot. However, with so much news, Shen Yi naturally couldn't read it one by one. And he also knows that there must be many people here who want to come and kneel, lick, and hug their thighs. Even there are many people who want to obtain the production method of C.level Type 1 combat robots from him. So, he directly activated the keyword blocking of the chat function. Block all keywords that he thinks may be problematic, such as help, give, how to create, etc. Sure enough, as soon as these keywords were blocked, most of the private messages disappeared instantly. However, there are still tens of millions left, and they are constantly skyrocketing. After all, there are quite a few people with a B number in their hearts. Forget it, after blocking people from other countries, just leave the Xia people behind. It is better to be cheap for people from one's own country than to be cheap for people from abroad. It's not too late to go harvest, and the domestic wool is harvested and the foreign chives are fattened. Shen Yi has set up another blockade. The number of private chats has plummeted again, leaving only over 1 million. There are still too many. Let's be precise and provincial. Shen Yi once again narrowed down his scope to his own province. There are really too many people with trading intentions. He has the capital to be completely capricious. This time, there were still tens of thousands of people left, still so many that it made his scalp tingle. This is too troublesome. If only there was something like a brain that could help me handle these things. Shen Yi frowned slightly. It seemed that he needed to pay attention to the drawings in this area in the future. Even the most basic artificial intelligence is fine. There is a 100-fold reinforcement system in place, even for artificial intelligence disabilities like Siri and Xiao AI. It will definitely be strengthened to a very terrifying level. Otherwise, choosing a suitable trading partner would be exhausting. Chapter 9. Family-style small groups. It seems that the price is reasonable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Forget it, just take a look. He is too lazy to carefully screen. After all, there are really too many people chatting privately, and everyone is craving his Type 1 combat robot. Even if selected within the province, there are still over 10,000 people. These are people who have intentions to trade with him. Shen Yi casually found a few avatars that looked pleasing to the eye and clicked in. Great God, could you please delay the trading time a bit? I am currently adding more compact resources here. It will take about 3 days to make up for it. Boss, I have a blueprint here. I don't know if it fits your needs. Blueprint. Cleaning robot, F.level. Hello, may I ask if we can discuss the price a bit? I know this requirement is indeed quite unreasonable. Compared to C.level robots, this price is already very low, but we really can't allocate so many resources now. However, once our situation improves, we will definitely make up for it. It has to be said that the people he selected are still very good. Basically, everyone is very good at speaking, and they have indeed taken out something, without any disgusting words appearing. Unfortunately, the things he sells also have timeliness. If you really have to wait, the price will increase. Without replying to those messages, Shen Yi continued to read on. Below are a few more blueprints, but unfortunately they are all very ordinary blueprints and he is not very interested. However, when he opened a private chat with a beautiful woman named Li Luoxi, her words caught his attention. Boss, I still need 3 hours to gather all the resources. Could you please wait a little longer? Shen Yi suddenly became interested. It only takes 3 hours to make it together. This is a bit exaggerated, right? You know, he needs a lot of resources. Even if the opponent is really the Emperor of Europe, starting with a wild start wouldn't be so outrageous. Sure, but could you please let me know how you managed to collect so many resources in such a short amount of time? It's okay if you don't want to, it doesn't affect the transaction. Shen Yi is really curious about how the other party did it. However, if the other party is unwilling to speak, he will not force it either. Compared to knowing this thing, he is more eager for resources to be available, so that his strength can be updated and replaced. At this moment, on a planet similar to Earth, Li Luoxi nervously clenched his pink fist and waited for a reply, after seeing the message uploaded on the screen. I almost jumped up in excitement. That cold and delicate face was also filled with surprises at this moment. She quickly typed a reply. Of course it's convenient, and it's not a secret. It's just that I found my family through the chat function. After integrating my family's energy, I actually have a lot of energy in my hand, which can easily open up the situation. In addition, I am lucky and the surroundings are not too dangerous. There are also abundant mineral resources, so it is not difficult to gather them all. She was afraid that if Shen Yi and others were in a hurry, she would cut off and watch others chatting. So, she simply unleashed her hand speed to the extreme. Her family has a large population, including 3 younger sisters, 2 younger brothers, and parents, grandparents, totaling 9 people. Adding herself is equivalent to having 900 points of energy available at the beginning. This made it easy for her to eliminate the threats around her and earn her first bucket of gold. Then, the robot was transferred to other people at home to help them overcome difficulties. Only her parents had bad luck, as the creatures near the base were too powerful. Ordinary Type 1 combat robots are simply not useful. The Type 1 combat robot sold by Shen Yi, which has reached the C. level, undoubtedly can help her parents easily overcome difficulties. Looking at the silent dialogue box, Li Luoxi couldn't help but feel a tug in his heart. Her fair nails were deeply ingrained in her flesh without realizing it. But she dare not say anything more now, afraid that she might say something inappropriate and anger the other party. And after more than 10 seconds, there was finally movement on the screen. Okay. A simple word instantly made Li Luoxi feel that the whole world had regained its color. Mom and Dad are finally saved. Thank you, big shot. I'll go prepare now. Li Luoxi quickly typed a reply. At the same time, her gaze towards Shen Yi's portrait was also full of gratitude. Although it only takes 10 points of energy per day to maintain the power of the parent's base, the radar shielding effect can be guaranteed to be effective. But who knows if radar can always work? Their family has a very close relationship. Otherwise, it is also impossible to have energy sharing and solve problems one by one. She cannot accept that her parents have always been in danger. On the other side, Shen Yi, sitting in a chair pinching his chin, also exclaimed with amazement on his face, so there's still such a naughty behavior, but this family really has a good relationship. Although he doesn't know the specific situation over there. But he can still guess the approximate operation. Concentrate all resources on one person first. Then, have the person make every effort to create a type of combat robot, harvest the surrounding monsters, and accumulate the first bucket of gold. After the large-scale production of a type of combat robot. Then he handed it over to other family members and kept rolling the snowball up. In this way, they will only have more and more energy on hand. Of course, this model is only limited to situations where the relationship is truly good. In such an environment, energy is really too important. Anyone who covets these energies. So other people can basically be sentenced to death directly. However, does this mean that my price can go further up? Shen Yi touched his chin and the corner of his mouth slightly raised. There must be many players in this family mode. However, he found it troublesome and directly passed it. In addition, there were also some who wanted to negotiate, but he ignored them directly. So, he also doesn't know about this aspect. If that's the case, then the player's wool is much more important than he imagined. Of course, he won't raise the price for this order. It's not his personality to make a last-minute change to what he promised. Although he is somewhat selfish, he is not yet untrustworthy. Moreover, he is currently very short of resources. 3 hours, I think it's almost over here. Shen Yi glanced at the radar. At this moment, within a radius of 5 kilometers around the base, the red dots representing the monsters have been completely cleared. With the continuous support of Type 1 combat robots, the clearance speed is really too fast. Even within 30 kilometers, the strongest creature Ceratopsian cannot withstand the attack of Type 1 combat robots. Let's talk more about other creatures that are not as good as Ceratopsians. Chapter 10. This Nima is too outrageous. You are listening at novel full.audio. The speed is still slightly slower. Let's produce another 2000 Type 1 combat robots. Shen Yi quickly started tapping on the control panel, accompanied by the direct transfer of 50,000 energy points. 2000 Type 1 combat robots have also been added to the production queue. This consumption is really terrifying. Shen Yi couldn't help but shudder in his heart. 3000 Type 1 combat robots cost him 75,000 points of energy. This is almost 1/5 of the total energy he is about to receive. However, this expenditure is also necessary. Because after cleaning up the monsters within these 30 kilometers, it is necessary for him to expand outward. An external expansion requires sufficient troops. If it weren't for preparing for a comprehensive upgrade in the near future, Shen Yi plans to keep more energy reserves. 3000 Type 1 combat robots, he even felt that some were not enough. He wouldn't be complacent just because he eliminated the Ceratopsian. I feel invincible on this planet. After all, Type 1 combat robots are only C.level. It can't be considered invincible on Earth, let alone on this planet where everything is so dangerous. Who knows what dangers lurk on this ghost planet? After arranging these things, Shen Yi became idle. Now the mechanical factory is making every effort to produce Type 1 combat robots, and even though the list is full, it is not possible to produce Type 1 industrial robots. He had nothing to do and could only wait silently. Forget it, let's eat something first. Shen Yi shook his head and walked towards the closed door on the right. After the tense nerves relaxed, he really felt his stomach was a bit hungry. The one on the right side of the gate is another functional living factory within the base. From the introduction, it should be a cafeteria. However, Shen Yi has no expectations for its taste. Even with a 100-fold enhancement system, he still doesn't think that enhancement can enhance the taste well. As soon as Shen Yi walked to the front door of the living factory, the door automatically opened towards both sides. The high level of automation made Shen Yi feel incredibly novel. He has usually only seen this kind of automation in movies. The name inside the living factory is completely different from its own. After entering the gate, what catches the eye is not a factory, but a long counter. A robot with an electronic screen in its head is standing behind the counter. As he walked in, the big electronic screen face immediately turned around. However, until Shen Yi walked to the counter and sat down, he didn't hear the welcome to come out. This level of intelligence is probably too poor, isn't it? Shen Yi couldn't help complaining about it. Even low.end toys on Earth can still say welcome to visit, okay. I hope there will be some changes in future upgrades, preferably with a simulated robot. At least that would make him feel more comfortable and prevent him from feeling alone here. Shaking his head, Shen Yi turned his gaze to the brain bag screen of the robot behind the counter. There are 3 nutrient solutions to choose from above. Primary nutrient solution, ability. Possessing certain nutrients, 1 serving can ensure the body's nutritional needs for 3 days, but the taste is not ideal, production demand. 1 point of energy, rating. F. Intermediate nutrient solution, ability. Possessing good nutrition, one serving can ensure the body's nutritional needs for 7 days, while also having a slight effect on enhancing physical fitness, but the taste is not ideal. Production demand. 3 points of energy, rating. F. Advanced nutrient solution, ability. Rich in nutrients, one serving can meet the body's nutritional needs for 15 days, while also having a small amount of physical strengthening effect, with a moderate taste. Production demand. 10 points of energy, rating. E. Level. After reading the introduction of 3 nutrient solutions, Shen Yi's eyes showed a hint of surprise. This nutrient solution is amazing. Surprisingly, it also has the effect of strengthening body mass. However, this price is a bit exaggerated. A type of homework robot only has 20 energy points. The price of 2 premium nutrient solutions is enough to compare to the price of a Type 1 homework robot. For ordinary players. At least in the early stages, it is definitely a luxury item. I just don't know how strong this effect on physical fitness is. How about a premium nutrient solution? Shen Yi clicked on the head of the robot's large screen inside the counter. Ding, 10 o'clock energy deduction successful. Meanwhile, a 10-second countdown appeared on the screen. 10 seconds later ding. Accompanied by a crisp bell. The robot behind the counter directly took out a tube of emerald green paste from its chest. I don't know what exactly this is made of. Anyway, Shen Yi's face suddenly became less attractive. No matter what the taste is, at least he cannot accept the appearance. And at that moment, the sound of the system in my mind also rang out. Ding, congratulations to the host. Your production of Advanced Nutrient Solution X1 has achieved a 100-fold increase. Shen Yi's eyes suddenly lit up with a bright light, and it was indeed strengthened. He looked at the advanced nutrient solution in front of him with some anticipation and pulled out its data. Advanced Nutrient Solution, ability. Due to special reasons, it has been greatly enhanced. After taking it, it can provide the body with the necessary nutrients for 3 months, and can also improve physical fitness by 5 times, up to 50 times the original physique. However, the taste is average. Reminder. Please take it again at least 1 month later, otherwise it may lead to excessive nutrition in the body. Rating. Level C, Sleeping Slot. Shen Yi couldn't help but burst out in a foul language. This Nima's is too outrageous. After taking it, you can directly increase your physical fitness by 5 times, which is already more than the physical fitness of the US team, right? And if all of them are taken, his physique can even be directly enhanced by 50 times, which can even be reached by hand tearing. His system is a bit too powerful. Gudu. Shen Yi looked at the nutrient solution contained in the test tube and instinctively swallowed his saliva. If he drinks this thing, he'll go straight to the sky. And this is also the charm of technology. Compared to the arduous cultivation of immortality and fantasy, using technology enhanced by the system to improve one's physical fitness is simply too simple. Without any hesitation, Shen Yi took the advanced nutrient solution from the robot's hand and drank it in one gulp. Gudong gudong. A bitter and cold taste immediately swept through his taste buds. Shen Yi felt like he had drunk a glass of plain bitter melon juice with ice. That disgusting smell almost made him spit it out in one gulp. However, considering the effect of this thing, he still held back and swallowed it. However, his handsome face became extremely twisted and wrinkled into a ball. Is this Nima's taste average as mentioned in the introduction? If it's beginner or intermediate, what kind of monster flavor does it have to have? High civilized people, are they all so flavorful?